Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, welcome to part 4 in our series on readings from Productivity Principles of Umar ibn Abd Aziz. My latest book available on Amazon and Gumroad. Click the links below to learn more. And firstly, thank you to all of you who bought the book this past few weeks. Alhamdulillah, sales have really increased recently, and soon we will have local versions available in various new regions. So, looking forward to that, as I have recently met with and signed contracts with various printers and publishers around the world to have it printed in those regions so that the price can be more affordable to the people. I'm not going to mention which regions yet because uh, we're not 100% official, it's like 99%, but soon I'll make announcements soon as to the regions where you can get these books at a much better price because they're going to be printed locally, right? So what's happening right now is the price is right for Amazon, but for some people living in countries a bit far away where there's no Amazon branch nearby, the shipping and the taxes for ordering is coming a bit too high. So one of the ways I'm trying to solve this is I'm establishing partnerships with printers and publishers in different regions so that people can get their books from a closer printer, not from Amazon. Um, so this way it can be more affordable for them, inshallah. So this is something that I'm working on, and hopefully this month we'll have some good news on that front. So with that, let's jump into this week's principle. This week I wanted to take a look at principle number 4, one of my favorite ones, and this is actually something that wasn't in my original manuscript, right? The abundance mentality. So actually, while I was writing this book, I was listening to a podcast from one of my friends where he did an entire episode on the abundance mentality in Islam. And it just clicked with me that I have to include this topic in the book because this is one of the biggest difference between a Muslim who follows and understands Islam and understands the concept of risk with a person who is materialistic and capitalistic. It's very, very important for understanding the productivity of Islam as opposed to the productivity of the West. I've written an article about this recently on my blog. If you haven't read it yet, check it out. In the blog, I mentioned that productivity in the modern context refers primarily to how much money you can make and how you contribute to the economy. But in Islam, that's not the most important thing. Productivity in Islam is more about building our afterlife and building up our good deeds and contributing to society and helping people. All of this is far more important than how much money you make, right? So the abundance mentality is a very important thing, and it's not something that only Muslims preach. So, for example, I quote Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in this chapter, and in that book he discusses the abundance mentality. First he talks about the scarcity mentality and how it's really ruining people, right? Because so basically, let me define these two terms before I go any deeper and read from the book. The scarcity mentality is the mindset of most materialistic and capitalistic people, which is that this world has limited resources, and anytime somebody else gets something, I'm not getting it, right? So an example of this would be where if you see somebody else get a promotion, you get jealous of them because you feel like you lost out, right? When somebody else gets married, you get jealous of them because you feel like you lost out. Anybody else's success, you look at it as your loss. This is the scarcity mindset. This is an un-Islamic way of thinking. The Islamic method, which is also, I would say, even the Christian and Buddhist method as well, is the abundance mindset, right? So I think most religions have the abundance mindset. It's just secularism, which is based on the scarcity mindset. And this is the idea that there is enough in this universe for everybody. So it's not a big deal if somebody else gets something, right? And as a Muslim, this is even more stronger and more profound because we have this belief that Allah is al-Razaq. He is the provider. He's khairul raziqeen. He is the best of providers. That Allah, His treasures are limitless. That if He had to give every single creature on earth what it wants, it would not decrease His treasures in the least. And so we don't just believe in abundance. We believe in an infinite amount of goodness out there in the universe. So it shouldn't bother us if somebody else gets something nice, because it has no correlation on whether we're going to get something nice or not, right? Rather, our good thoughts of Allah is that He will give that person good things and He will give us good things as well. So the abundance mindset is very, very important for fighting off jealousy. And if you suffer with feeling jealous of others, switching to an abundance mindset can help to remove this feeling and to move away from jealousy and to become a person who is more caring for others and more happy to see other people succeed. So the way I link this to the story of Umar bin Abd Aziz is I look at his cousins as having a scarcity mindset, and I look at him as having the abundance mindset. And again, this is my own reading into the story, my own lessons and that I've derived from the story. Uh, Basically, the point that I looked at over here is that when Umar ibn Abdul Aziz became the Khalifa, he took away a lot of the taxes that were oppressing the people. And his cousin saw it as if we don't charge those taxes, we can't maintain our lavish lifestyle. And so this led to jealousy, which eventually led to his death because his cousins had him poisoned and killed at a very young age. And there's a very famous statement from Umar bin Abdul Aziz related to this, that when he cancelled these taxes and the governor said, how are we going to manage without it? He said, Allah did not send Muhammad as a tax collector, He sent him as a mercy to the universe. Right? So here you see Umar bin Abdul Aziz not really caring about how much taxes the government is receiving, knowing full well that everybody's risk comes from Allah. His cousins not being able to understand this, worried about losing their money, worried about losing their status, worried about not being able to enjoy all the good things of this world, were driven to greed, driven to jealousy, and eventually driven to murder. And so in this we see the difference between someone who believes that Allah is Khairul Raziqeen and someone who's worried about poverty. And this is actually a topic I'm exploring further at the moment because the next book that I'm writing, I don't want to announce it yet because I literally just started writing it a week ago. I'm only 40 pages into it, but it's focused more on this topic. It's focused more on the topic of risk and sustenance and the abundance mindset, tawakkul. It's going to be a very interesting book. I don't want to announce it yet. You'd rather buy this book and read it first. But just say I am currently doing a lot more research into this topic and I'm going to have a lot more to say about it in the next book I write, inshallah. So in this book I mentioned that in Islam we believe Allah has limitless treasures, right? Allah's treasures have no end. And we see this in the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz because he didn't care. He didn't care about, if we don't charge these taxes, we're not going to get this. And he didn't have this mindset. His mindset was do what's right, do what's just, Allah will take care of everyone. And many of the historians state that during his reign, there was no poverty in some regions. Like people in some regions couldn't find anyone to give zakat to. There just was no poor people. Why? Because this abundance mindset, especially when it comes from the ruler, it spreads throughout society and creates a barakah throughout society. And so his mindset became the mindset of his people, and his policies led to a blessed economy in which poverty was temporarily removed. So we also see in this the power of the Islamic economic system. Again, this is another topic that I'm currently researching for my next book. The Islamic economic system is really the one thing that can solve most of the problems that people are so hung up on at the moment about this. We have right now this idea of the majority of the people of this world don't have any wealth, and there are some people who have like all the wealth in the world. And how do we fix this? Well, Islamic economics fixes it. The problem is there's no country in the world today that's really demonstrating this in practice, and it's going to be really difficult to convince the government to demonstrate this in practice. But I guarantee you this much: if any Muslim or even non-Muslim government had to take the Islamic economic model and apply it to their country, we would see a huge decrease in poverty, a large increase in happiness, and a large increase in people being able to maintain a decent standard of living. I'm not saying everybody will be wealthy, but I'm saying even the people who are not wealthy will be happy and satisfied. They'll have their basic needs met. right? That's really what Islam aims for. Islam doesn't say everyone's going to be wealthy, but it says everyone's going to be taken care of. And really, this is part of our abundance mentality that it flows over into our economic model. And so I quote a separate story in this chapter, and the story is from a hadith found in Sahih al-Bukhari, and this is actually the story that my friend's podcast was based on. So his entire podcast was a narration of the story and extracting lessons on the abundance mentality from the story. And I found the story just beautiful, so I included the entire story in this chapter. Can't really see because of the lighting. Let's see if I can get it up there. There we go. The story of three men and an angel. Right, so it takes up about 4 pages in this chapter, and it's a story of about three people who were poor, and Allah blessed them with wealth, and two of them became miserly, and the third one was very generous. And from there, you know, this friend of mine extracted this lesson of the abundance mindset. The idea that these people worried about poverty even though they have money. The other person is generous. Who does Allah give barakah to? He gives barakah to the generous person. And that's really the abundance mindset in Islam. Is not just this uh, idea that there's enough for everyone. It is a firm belief that Allah's treasures are limitless, and it's a firm belief that if we spend in the path of Allah, Allah will provide for us. And it's a firm belief in barakah, that if we use our wealth in a way that's pleasing to Allah, Allah will put barakah in it. This is a belief that's very empowering. And one of the ways we can move or transition from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset is to get into the habit of giving charity on a daily basis. Now, I know this sounds hard, right? Especially if you're just barely making it. But even if it's just like $1 a day, $2 a day, whatever you can afford, just doing it every single day helps us to reconnect with this idea that money is from Allah, and when money is spent in the path of Allah, there is barakah and there is returns, and we get to see it in practice. And this increases our iman, it increases our yaqeen, it increases our barakah. It makes things better for us in a variety of different ways. And so, if someone is struggling to embrace the abundance mentality, I would highly recommend getting into the habit of giving charity every day and slowly over time increasing that charity. You will notice that you will be in a better state of mind, you will experience more barakah in your wealth, and you may even experience an increase in wealth itself. And so this really helps us to feel the abundance mentality in practice. And there are many businesses, Muslim businesses around the world that practice this. I personally know people, even in my own family, who practice this, that they have a business and they give a certain percentage in charity, and their businesses just keep growing and growing and growing, and Allah has just blessed them with more and more and more. It is truly, truly amazing. And at the end of this chapter, I discuss the benefits of an abundance mentality. And the benefits is you live a life of gratitude and contentment. Gratitude because you know your risk is from Allah, it's not from your own self. And contentment because you know that I worked, Allah gave me what I need. Alhamdulillah. So you become content in the Islamic sense, not the lazy sense. It's important to make a distinction here, because when we talk about contentment, a lot of people confuse that with laziness. It's the same with tawakkul. Contentment in Islam doesn't mean that you don't have goals. It doesn't mean that you don't work hard. It doesn't mean that you sit back and do nothing. But it means at the end of the day, you look at the amount of money you made for the day. You look at the fact my bills are paid. I have a house. I have food. I have a family. You say Alhamdulillah. You relax. You're happy. You're satisfied. The next day you work again. At the end of the day, you reflect on this. You say Alhamdulillah. You show gratitude. You are satisfied. So contentment in Islam does not mean you do not work. But after every bit of work, you are satisfied with the result Allah has given you. That's what contentment is. And then the next day you work again. So it becomes a cycle. Work with tawakkul, contentment and pleasure in Allah's qadr. Work with tawakkul, and then contentment and pleasure in Allah's qadr. And this becomes a cycle that helps us to live a happy, fulfilling, lifestyle. And this was really the lifestyle of Umar ibn Abd Aziz and many of the great people of that era. Hassan al-Basri is another person who lived like this, and many amazing people of that time who lived in this manner. I end this chapter with two quotations from Umar bin Abd Aziz related to gratitude and reflecting on the favors of Allah. Number one, Umar ibn Abd Aziz said, speaking in remembrance of Allah is good, and reflecting over the blessings of Allah is the best act of worship. So he said that the best way to worship Allah is to think about everything Allah has given us and then to worship Him out of gratitude for that. And he also said, remind each other of your blessings because to remember them is to be grateful. So part of gratitude is to remind each other, Allah has given us this, Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us that, Allah has blessed us with this. This is a way of being grateful to Allah, to remember it together as a family or as a community. So these are some of the statements of Umar bin Abdul Aziz related to gratitude. Gratitude is related to the abundance mentality. The abundance mentality helps us to live a life that is more peaceful, more relaxed, more focused on what matters, and more in tune with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's really a life-changing mindset, and it's something I really hope we all can revive in our lives. And again, I gave some practical tips for that. Number one, increase our charity. Number two, be grateful for what we have. And number three, try to live a life of contentment. If we do these things, then inshallah, we can revive the abundance mentality and make it a part of who we are. And once it's a part of who we are, our iman can soar to another level. Can really take our iman to the next level. So again, if you haven't bought the book yet, click the links below, get your copy. I hope you enjoy the book. I hope you find it beneficial. In the meanwhile, I need to get back to writing my next book. I'm not telling you what the book is yet, but I'm really enjoying researching and writing it. And I really hope when it's ready, you guys are going to enjoy reading it as well. Until next time, Jazakallah khairan wa akhir dawana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.